Hello everyone, my name is Luke and I'm the Education Coordinator at Hanford Mills. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about watersheds and why they're important and how we can keep them clean and some of the ways that we can do that. So to start out with, maybe the obvious is what exactly is a watershed? A watershed is, if you're going to put it in just a couple of words, it's kind of like where the water drains to. So it's actually not like a body of water. It's not a lake or a river. And even though it's got that word shed in it, it also isn't like a building. It's an area of land that all that water in that particular area of land flows to. So for example, we live in the west of Hudson watershed, which means all of the water in the area that we live eventually flows into a couple spots. It can flow into mostly the reservoirs. So it's where the water flows to on that specific set of land. This includes mountains, fields, even some places like streams. All of those areas that water falls, either as rain or snow, that'll eventually, because of gravity and other reasons, flow to a certain spot. That's what a watershed is. It's kind of a hard definition to grasp in your head, but we're going to do a couple of activities that'll help us kind of get a better idea of what a watershed is. So, in addition to water moving to a specific spot within an area of land, other things can move too. Water, if you've ever seen after a storm, water kind of will flow down the street. Sometimes you'll see leaves that get dragged with it. Other things can get dragged with it too. So we're going to be doing a couple of activities, kind of looking at what watersheds are. We're going to see how pollution can affect the water we drink and how people can help limit their pollution. And we're also going to make our own watersheds so we can get a little bit of a better idea of what they are and kind of see what it's like in our mind's eye. So whenever we talk about watersheds, it's not this kind of weird definition. So we're going to be using, for our at-home activity, materials that you can find at your house. And I also have a special piece of equipment called an Enviroscape that I'm going to use to kind of demonstrate a watershed and how pollution can flow through it. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, we're back, and we've got some materials to start to kind of explore exactly what a watershed is. So to start off with, all you're going to need is 4 pieces of parchment paper or freezer sheets, whatever you've got, a marker, a glass of water, and a pan, which I'll bring up in just a moment. So for this part, what we're going to do is take our first piece of parchment paper and we are going to crinkle it up into a ball. It doesn't have to be anything particularly tiny or perfectly circular, but something like that. Something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. So it's actually going to kind of look like, if you use your imagination, kind of like a mini mountain range. And then this is where our marker comes in. What we're going to do, on the shiny side, if you've got 2 different sides, for example, if you're using freezy paper, on the shiny side, you are going to go over these creases here with marker. Slightly. You don't have to color the whole thing in, but you want to get a little bit of a layer on there for where the sharp part of the mountain peak is. Like that. So you're going to do this with most of these. You don't have to do every single little crease, but you're going to want to do that with the big ones. So just go for the biggest ones, the biggest 4, 5, 6 that you can find. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do this 3 more times with, if you've got it, 3 different color markers, because that's going to show us the different watersheds. So to save some time in the video of me doing this over and over again, I have already made 4 watershed sheets, and they're each a different color, and I taped them together in the back. There will also be written instructions with pictures to go along with this to help out, because I know it can be a little bit confusing. So you've got the 4 of them together. Now it looks like a bunch of mountains together, and I'm using one of these aluminum trays. Okay folks, so we have our watershed all stitched together, And what we're going to do now is briefly look at it, and I'll point out some areas that are interesting. So we've got our 4 different colors. We have over here our orange. Oops. We've got our orange watershed. We've got our red area, our greenish, and then our purple. So those 4 different sheets stitched together. What we're going to do now is we're going to make it rain gently and see what happens to these colors and if they go anywhere. So with our glass of water, we're going to gently let it start to rain. This is why we do it in the pan here, so it doesn't go everywhere. Okay. So this turned out really well. This shows exactly what we were trying to do. It shows watersheds, different watersheds, so where all that water collected. So we have more or less 4 watersheds in this particular map. We've got our orange watershed, which is blended in with the water, so it looks clear, but you can see it's right there. We also have our red watershed, where all of the red water kind of collected down here. Our blue, greenish watershed, and then our purple watershed. So why didn't the colors mix? Well, as you can see, we've got mountains here, some tall mountains, and water's not going to flow up and over the mountains. It's going to go like this and spread out. So when that water spread out, it took these with them, the different waters, different colors with them, across their watersheds. And they all started to collect towards the bottom, towards the flatter parts, which is exactly where they collect in real life. For those of us that live near or in the west of Hudson watershed, those are the reservoirs. Alrighty, I hope that experiment helped you all understand a little bit more about what watersheds are and why they're important. As you notice, all that water was going to one spot, even if you were up high on a hill there. Some of that water would eventually make its way down to a bigger area that water's stored in. And, as you saw, in some cases, a lot of that water will end up in a much bigger place, like the ocean. We do have an activity guide that accompanies this video. If you go to hanfordmills.org, you will find it there, as well as some step-by-step instructions on how to do what we did. So, we hope this video guide was helpful to you. We hope to see you when we open up soon. And until then, we hope you folks are safe, healthy, and happy. Take care.